Let's take a look at Monday, the beginning of a new week, and we've got to take a peek at who can be streamed in, how things could look rotation-wise, all of that stuff. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and Daddy Chill. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Also, check out lockedondaily.com. The best newsletter for your favorite NBA team. It's free. It's in your inbox 5 days a week. You know, you guys, the everydayers, the first bangers, the double bangers, in fact. So just thumb it up, keep commenting, keep doing the stuff. All right, let's talk about things that we need to talk about on Act Happy Day, Monday, March the 17th, a 10-game day. It is a 7:30 p.m. start time. I don't know why we're getting a lot of 7:30 p.m. starts at the moment, but we are, whatever. That's how we're doing things. Let's take a look at that day. I think for the majority of you, it's a 10-game day. Maybe 55-60% of you, it will be streaming day. If it's not, understand that. But also, you're going to have random guys sitting out, so that does turn a full roster sometimes into a streaming day. I think 10 is about the right spot for that. Let's take a look at the schedule. There are a lot of teams heading into Monday on a back-to-back, which is important for us to note. We've got 7 teams that are doing that. The Lakers, the Wolves, the Sixers, the Suns, the Blazers, the Raptors, and the Jazz. And there's a lot there. Is Luka going to play? He sat the last back-to-back. What about Rudy Gobert? Now, Mike Conley's out on Sunday. Will Gobert play Sunday, sit Monday? Maybe. The Sixers, everything's possible. I think that all the guys that sat today, Oubre, Drummond, Maxey, will be out here. And I also think that Yabusele is at risk in that one. Phoenix, Beal just left that game early with a hamstring tightness, so he surely doesn't play. The Blazers and Jeremy Grant and Denny Avdia, I don't know. The Raptors and every one of their players. And the Jazz and every one of their players. So there's a lot that can happen in terms of back-to-backs heading into Monday. For the Warriors, they're the only team that play Monday, Tuesday. So when we're talking about Warriors streamers, and we know that Pajemski is out on Monday, and I'd say that Kuminga sits one of those two as well, you got a little bit of extra value popping up there for Warriors players. The beginning of this week is Warriors time, so I think we're all well across that at this stage. Let's take a look at some chunky schedule stuff, and this is a very weird week, because over the next 5 days, Wednesday with 11 games on, we're not counting that as a streamable day because it's 11 games. It's tough to do that. There are only 2 teams that play 3 games in 5 nights. It's the Warriors, who own the beginning of this week, and it's the Hornets, who own the middle of the week. But they're the only teams from Monday to Friday that play 3 streamable games. So when you're looking at guys to look at, you look at Warriors, Moody, Post, Payton, Heald, and then the Hornets, you look at Jeffries, Green. Hard to do with Nurkic and Diabate. You can look at Smith in that spot as well, but they are the guys that we're paying attention to. Let's take a look at some key injury statuses that we need to be aware of. Andy Wiggins is questionable for the Miami Heat. It's been a tough team to try and figure out all season. Spoelstra just keeps adjusting things every single game. Hackett starts, and Ware starts, and Highsmith starts, and Highsmith gets 0 minutes, and Robinson starts, and he doesn't play. It's all over the shop. And Wiggins being out will make it even more complicated, if that's what happens. Last game, the Pelicans were without Yves Missi and Zion for personal reasons. Missi was an ankle, Zion was personal, so we don't know about those guys yet. Adem Bona, I don't think that he plays, and I don't think that Tyrese Maxey plays, and I don't think that Kelly Oubre play. But who knows? They could all play. They all sat on Sunday. They could all play Monday. Maxey, there's almost no shot. Oubre, I'd say there's also almost no shot there. In fact, I think both of those guys, Maxey and Oubre, they won't say it, but I don't think they're playing again. That's just a guess, though. Bona's a tougher one. It's a little bit harder to figure out whether he's going to be in or not. I do think that we get Bona in on Monday, but actually, no, I don't actually. I've got Bona out for Monday, so I don't know, though. I don't know. Rudy Gobert, like I said, it is a back-to-back. He's returning from that back injury. he's playing Sunday, so he's a shot to sit on Monday. Josh Giddey, is he going to be doubtful, or is he actually going to play? And then there's the Jazz guys, where we get into the scenario of like, how do we figure out how they're going to play? Obviously, we know there was the fine about Lauri Markkanen. Remember, the fine is about Markkanen. It's not about what they do with the other players. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go about that. On Sunday, Jordan Clarkson is out. John Collins is out, obviously. Keontae George is out. And KJ Martin is out. I think that given they're playing the Bulls on Sunday, the Bulls on Monday, you are going to have a situation where Markkanen, Kessler, Sexton, Clarkson, maybe George are all out on Monday. But I don't know. That is very, very much a guess. It's very hard to know that. We need to check on Santi Aldama in Memphis, even though with Jaren back, his value is obviously decreased pretty significantly. Domantas Sabonis hurt his hamstring again on Friday. We haven't had any update on that. I don't think he's going to play. I've got him doubtful for now, but they've already been idiotic once about the hamstring injury, so let's see if they do it again. Bradley Beal, I really don't. If he left on Sunday's game with hamstring tightness, it seems incredibly unlikely he's available to play on Monday, but obviously we'll keep an eye on that. Then we go to the Toronto Raptors. What are they going to do? We know they've got just a horrific... Portland, Phoenix, Golden State, San Antonio, Washington are their next 5 games. On Sunday, Barrett is resting. Quickly is resting. Dick is out. Roden is out. Walter is out. Ingram is out. They're going to remain out. What the question's going to be is, does Barnes play on Monday? I would say no. Quickly and Barrett probably do return, but I would be pretty surprised if Pirtle plays on Monday. But they could honestly just do anything, and they could play them 15 minutes. So it is one of those ones where we just don't know. Jeremy Grant is out for Sunday. I think we are getting Ides of March here pretty aggressively. So I think there's a risk that he is out again. We don't roster him regardless, but we'll see on that one. And then the other one to watch is going to be Luka Doncic, because of course we just don't know how the Lakers are going to handle this busy schedule part of it. He did rest their last back-to-back. I would at least put that as a questionable tag on Luka, as in whether he is able to go or not. We're going to come back and talk points league streaming. We're going to talk category league streaming as well. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by DoorDash, because with DoorDash, thanks to Dash Pass, if they swoosh, you save. Every time a player drops 50 points in an NBA game, the next day you get a huge deal. It is simple. The player scores 50 in a 24-25 NBA regular season game, and Dash Pass members get 50% off their order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. What do you want to take advantage of with that? You want to get yourself a little burger? You want to get yourself a platter of food? You want to get a big pile of pizzas for everyone coming over for the watch party? Whatever you want, Dash Pass and DoorDash will give you that 50% off, up to $10 off the next day. So sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use the promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders of participating merchants. You must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. With March Madness here, well, there's never been a better time to get in on the action with FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra to use on everything from buzzer beaters and Cinderella stories, cutting down the nets, or even just one of the boring games. Do they exist? Man, I'm sure they're all exciting. Over at March Madness. Pick your favorite game, pick your favorite team, pick your favorite color, pick your favorite conference, pick whatever you want. I don't care. Just make sure you win that first $5 bet. That'll get you $200 in bonus bets to you do as you please. So go to FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay, let's talk streaming now. Let's start with Points League streaming for Monday, understanding that a lot of the stuff can change here. So we're giving some ideas of how I think things are going to play out. I wish I could get it 100% right every time, but I can't, because random stuff pops up on injury reports all the time. We'll go to Yahoo Points League streaming to begin things. Orlando Robinson is the name that I want to look at there. Again, my assumption here is that John Mobo is back. Colin Castleton is signed on another 10-day deal, but I think Robinson's the best of those players. And I don't think that Pirtle will play. After he plays Sunday, I don't think he plays the back-to-back. So I think we've got 30 minutes available here. Castleton and Mobo can play the 4, and I also think that Scotty Barnes is going to be out. So I think there's room for all of them to put up numbers. I think Justin Champagnie is just a guy we roster anyway, but he is still available in a lot of different spots, so I'll put Justin on this list. I've got Juice McBride there, who does still sit under 30% rostered, and with Jalen Brunson out, probably the rest of the regular season. It feels like they're just drip feeding information. Remember, they did the same thing with Julius Randle. They did the same thing with Mitchell Robinson. They did the same thing with OG Anunoby. And then this season, they did the same thing with Mitchell Robinson. They are terrible at giving timelines. They give these short time frames, which have no relevance in terms of when the player is actually returning. We all saw what happened to Brunson. And when that happened, they said, hey, it's at least 2 weeks. And that's the key thing with that report is they never told you what the injury was. They never said grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. And they said at least, right? Always look for those little things that they say and don't say. I don't think that Brunson's back in March, but again, I don't know. Also, the thing that's really frustrating to me about narratives and the way people talk about things is people will go, oh, he's so tough, Brunson. He plays for anything. He's so tough. Don't worry, he'll be back soon. So, again, that which is just a garbage statement. Yes, he is tough, but nearly every player is. There are a few exceptions of guys who maybe don't push as hard as they could. Very small amount, right? But the thing is, once you get that narrative, that idea on a player, or that exists around that guy, like Brunson, it's impossible to shake. So now, if he was to miss 5 weeks, the narrative would be, man, that must be really bad for Brunson to miss 5 weeks. If it was someone who didn't have that reputation, they'd be like, it's an ankle sprain. Why aren't you back now? But you couldn't possibly say Brunson's soft, taking 5 weeks to come back. God, he doesn't even try. Why doesn't he just get out there? It's just an ankle sprain. Because he's got the idea behind him that he's this super tough guy. And in reality, injuries strike and they injure you. That's what happens. And yeah, anyway, McBride, cool. Jared Butler. Jordan Goodwin. He's a very interesting player with guys out. Still no LeBron in LA. A potential of Luka Doncic not playing. Rui Hachimura remaining out for another week. Gabe Vincent sort of been in and out of lineup, so we'll see. He sat on the second half of back-to-back last time. Is he going to play? Don't know. But that opens things up for Goodwin here to be useful. And then if you want to get, again, deeper, like Goodwin, Ricky Council in Philadelphia. I don't think George or Oubre are playing. It might even be that Quentin Grimes sits the game on Monday. And that'll open up a lot for Council. So there are some options there, some opportunities for production. For ESPN Points League, some similar names. You've got Juice McBride at the top. You've got Trey Jones. And Trey Jones it's not that Trey Jones is not a Yahoo Points streaming guy. It's that the way that I'm doing this is I'm providing a couple of players at different roster percentage levels, so he hit multiple different leagues. And there were 2 guys who I had projected higher on Yahoo who had that between 30 and 20% rostered percentage, and Jones was like the 4th one or 3rd one of those guys. But on ESPN, he's like the 2nd. That's why he's at the top of this list. I've got Justin Champagny there. I've got Jared Butler there as well, former Wizards legend, current Sixers legend. Former Thunder legend, Jared Butler. Jordan Goodwin, who played for 1 million teams last season on the Lakers, who we just talked about. And then Jose Alvarado is a guy that's interesting. He played a lot of minutes in the last game. We'll see whether Zion returns and what it does. I don't know whether Jose will get those minutes. But he has been dropped in a lot of spots, as I detailed on the waiver wire show earlier today. And that makes him available and useful in this particular spot as a stream option. Let's look at category leagues now. Let's look at the combination of streaming in for points and threes to begin the week. There are 6 names here. Again, we're hitting different roster percentage levels. I'm going to go with Moses Moody in Golden State. Again, a key ad considering the way the schedule plays out at the beginning of this week. Jamison Battle's a name that comes up. Now, that's risky because I don't know what Toronto does. Does Barrett play? Does Quickly play? Does Barnes play? Does Abaji play both games? I don't know. Battle is a player who was on a 2A early in the season. He impressed. They elevated him. He's had some big minute games. He's really a points and threes guy, and you could throw AJ Lawson into that mix as well. It is risky, but it's a nice deeper league opportunity. I've got Bryce Sensible there because I do think that Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler against the Bulls on Monday are not going to play on the back-to-back. So that should elevate Sensible into a larger role. Dylan Brooks is always going to be someone that's worth looking at in this sort of a spot for points and threes, and yet again, his name pops up. Same with Bub Carrington, who to me remains a fringy sort of a player for 12-team formats, and if you're fringy, that means you can be on or off rosters, but when you play, we're always considering you to stream, and points and threes and assists, obviously, is what Bub provides, so we are interested in that. And then Ricky Council, who was really good today, won't always be very good. He's inconsistent because he's not a particularly good player. That's what happens. But when opportunities present, like they are at the moment, we have to at least consider him as being someone to take a look at and stream in when we're looking for those certain categories. But the other thing with that is that if it lets you down, you have to understand that that's like a relative like expectation that they're not good and they could be inconsistent. They could be benched at any point. And with teams, and there are really 4 teams that were really like, what are you guys doing? And you've got to be really cautious about what they do. The Jazz, the Raptors, the Sixers, and the Mavericks. The Mavericks are a different story because they really don't have many players, so they're sort of playing all those guys, but they're the 4 teams with real shenanigans going on. They're the four teams that you're really being cautious with. We'll come back and talk some more category league stuff in a sec. Today's episode, though, is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Do you ever just check your bank account and go, where's my money? Where did all the money go? Between dining out and online shopping, subscription services, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, your investments and spending in one place. So you just stop managing your money and you can start actually building wealth. One of the key things, I think, with something like Monarch Money, instead of having to have a million apps, you got to check all your different accounts or your investments in those different spots and what's my password or face scan and I got to do this. And now you got to send a code to my thing for protection, for security. It's all over the shop. But on Monarch Money, it's all in one place. So everything you see is right there. You can track it all in that one spot. And that is just a gigantic W to me. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com. The code is LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Okay, let's go through some more category league streaming options for Monday. Assists and steals, some pretty good options actually available for Monday for these categories. We've got Jared Butler, Jose Alvarado, Jordan Goodwin, and Jamal Shed. Really strong options, and all of them have decent minutes upside as well. TJ McConnell and Scottie Pippen Jr. probably don't have as high minutes upside, but their per minute production is so good in these categories that Pippen's been getting 25 minutes anyway, so we're interested in that. But even if TJ gets 17, you can get 5 assists and 2 steals out of him. So he's a real per-minute guy that doesn't really have the minutes upside of Butler, Alvarado, Goodwin, and Shed, but he's there. And then Pippen's he's sort of in the middle. His per-minute production is probably not quite as good as Alvarado, as McConnell, but it sits in that like where he's getting 25 minutes instead of 30 minutes. And at any point, it could go away and they could go to Kennard more. But I do like Pippen there. They are using him a little bit more, and that obviously makes it interesting. For big men, boards and blocks, Mason Plumlee. We have to track every game to see whether he's going to get minutes or it's going to be Iguodaro or it's going to be, or honestly, is he going to get ejected? Because that's been happening a million times. Nick Richards returned to action today for the Suns as well, but will he play both games? I don't know. Plumlee's been putting up pretty solid numbers a lot of this time, but again, there are risks with all this and to how they use them and the minutes. Like, for example, at the game currently, they're using Iguodaro over Plumlee. So I don't know that that's going to be something that holds, but that's happening right now. I just created this before the game, and that's happening now. So just be aware of that. So maybe take Plumlee away from that. Yeah, Kalamakovic is very interesting, especially if Zion is out again, and if Misi if Misi is out. So we like him. Steven Adams is risky as well, but he's had some huge games and playing alongside Şengün too. Jackson Hayes is back. He looks really good on Sunday. Will he play both games, though, after returning from that issue? I think probably, but there's a risk in that too. And then they'd go to like Alex Lynn and Trey Jemison. Isaiah Stewart, much like a Timothy John McConnell, you know that there is just a floor role there. It's 18, 19 minutes. That's what he gets. The rotation's consistent, and that's valuable too. Same with Bismack Biyombo, whose upside is incredibly low, but he starts and he plays like 16, 17 minutes. You know that. There might be 5 boards. It might be 2 blocks. Do you just want that little bit of security versus, hey, what if Adams just gets a random night off? What if Plumlee gets taken out of the rotation? All those things are entirely possible. If we look at percentage stream, guys, we go to field goal percentage first. I do like Jackson Hayes there. I've got Brandon Clark. He's a really strong field goal guy. And Rashawn Holmes, who's getting those backup minutes still in Washington, even though Alex Sarl's great. Holmes is getting minutes. For free throws, we go to Bryce Sensabaugh. We go to Bub Carrington. And then Julian, that is the Spurs Champagny. He's a deeper league guy who's getting these 24, 25 minutes. A nice free throw percentage option for you over there as well. In the weekly preview show, we talked about the stream plans for this week and detailed the ways that we were going to hit it. And one of the ways with a 1-slot stream was by using Monday as a single day stream. So I've got a couple of options that I'm going to track there. One of them is Orlando Robinson and one of them is Jared Butler. If you're using the 2-slot stream, there are 2 ways of attacking that. You could have done a 3-game in 4-nighter, or you could have done a Monday, Tuesday back-to-back. And for some of them, I'm doing both of them. The team to target there, of course, is the Warriors. So I'm going to track Moses Moody for the 3 and 4, and for the back-to-back, I'm going to track Quinton Post. Now, I could have said Moody for both, and it would be Moody for both, but if I'm using 2 slots to stream, I can't have 2 Moses Moodys. So I'm looking at Post, and I'm looking at Moody as stream options to see how they work in that particular setup. All right, that is Monday's action, the 17th of March, 10 games on, 7:30 p.m. first game. Make sure you're thumbing and watching the video. We'll recap Sunday's action all later on in the show. Guys, later in the day. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.